Somewhere in the next 7 minutes, I'm going to show you a single word, one you probably said today, maybe in the last hour, that quietly tells everyone in the room you don't matter. And here's the twisted part. You were taught that this word makes you polite. It doesn't. It makes you invisible. By the end of this chapter, you'll hear it everywhere. In meetings, in coffee shops, in your own voice, and you won't be able to unhear it. Think about the last time someone genuinely charmed you, not impressed you, charmed you. They probably weren't the loudest person in the room. They didn't have the best jokes or the most expensive watch, but something about the way they spoke made you lean in. Now flip it. Think about a conversation that was going great, and then the person said something, one small thing, and it was like a light switched off. You kept smiling, you kept nodding, but internally, you'd already left. That switch-off moment almost never comes from something offensive. It comes from something small. A phrase, a filler, a verbal habit the speaker doesn't even know they have. Charisma isn't built in grand gestures. It leaks out through tiny cracks. Let's find your cracks. Crack number 1 is the most invisible because it hides behind good manners. It's the word sorry, used when nothing is actually wrong. Sorry to bother you. Sorry, quick question? Sorry, can I squeeze past? Count your sorries for one day and you'll be horrified. Here's what's actually happening in the listener's brain when you apologize for existing. You're framing yourself as an intrusion. You're telling them before you've said anything of substance that your presence is a cost they're paying. Psychologists Karina Schumann and Michael Ross published a study in Psychological Science showing that people differ wildly in their threshold for what deserves an apology. And chronic apologizers have set that threshold so low that they apologize for things no reasonable person would register as an offense. The result? Each unnecessary sorry is a small withdrawal from your credibility account, and the listener is keeping score without even knowing it. So what do you say instead? You swap apology for gratitude. Watch what happens. Sorry I'm late becomes thank you for waiting. Sorry to bother you becomes thanks for making a minute for me. Sorry for the long email becomes thanks for reading all of that. Feel the shift? An apology puts you below the other person, begging pardon. Gratitude puts you side by side, acknowledging their generosity. Same situation, same politeness, completely different power dynamic. And to be clear, when you actually step on someone's foot, when you actually drop the ball, apologize, fully and sincerely. Real apologies are strong. It's the reflexive, decorative ones that bleed you dry. Crack number 2 is even smaller. 4 letters. Just. I just wanted to check in. I just think that maybe. Can I just say something? Ellen Petrie-Leentz, a former Google executive, wrote a widely discussed essay about this exact word after noticing how often it appeared in workplace emails. She called it a permission word, a verbal tiptoe, a child politely knocking on the door of an adult conversation. Read your own said messages tonight. Every just you find is you asking permission to take up space you already own. Delete it and read the sentence again. I just wanted to follow up on the proposal becomes I wanted to follow up on the proposal. Nothing was lost, except the apology you smuggled into the middle of your own sentence. And just has an entire family of these shrinking words. Maybe we could possibly. I might be wrong, but this is probably a dumb question. Linguists call these hedges, and here's the brutal math of hedging. You deploy these phrases hoping to seem humble, but the listener doesn't process them as humility. They process them as your own verdict on yourself. You told them the question was dumb before you asked it. Why would they overrule you? You are the first review anyone reads of you. Stop writing yourself 1 star. Now here's where it gets interesting, because the 3rd crack is the exact opposite of shrinking. And most people who avoid cracks 1 and 2 fall face first into this one. It's the I-monologue. I did, I think, I built, my project, my weekend, my opinion, me. And look, you're interesting. Your stories are probably great, but there's a sociologist at Boston College, Charles Derber, who spent years recording and analyzing ordinary dinner conversations for his book, The Pursuit of Attention. and what he found should haunt every one of us. In conversation after conversation, people performed what he called the shift response. Someone shares something, and instead of exploring it, the listener uses it as a launchpad back to themselves. You say, "I've been so tired lately." And I say, "Oh, me too. I've been slammed at work. We had this deadline." And just like that, your tiredness became my stage. Derber called it conversational narcissism, and the terrifying part of his research is that it's not villains doing this. It's everyone. It's the default setting. Nobody thinks they're doing it, and almost everybody is. The fix is what Derber called the support response, and it's almost stupidly simple. When someone hands you a piece of their life, ask about it before you match it. Tired? What's been eating your energy? That's it. That one move. The follow-up question turns out to be one of the most rigorously proven charisma techniques in existence. A team of researchers at Harvard, Karen Wang, Allison Wood Brooks, and colleagues, analyzed hundreds of live conversations, including actual speed dates, for a study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology. The finding was almost embarrassing in its clarity. People who asked more questions, especially follow-up questions, were consistently better liked. And on the speed dates, they got more second dates. Not the funniest people, not the best looking, the ones who asked. Dale Carnegie guessed this 90 years ago in How to Win Friends and Influence People, when he wrote that you can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than in 2 years of trying to make people interested in you. Now we have the data. He was right. So here's your assignment for the next 24 hours. And I'm warning you, it's harder than it sounds. 1 day, 3 rules. No decorative sorries. Gratitude instead. Hunt down every "just" and delete it mid-sentence if you have to. And every time someone shares something, 1 follow-up question before you say a single sentence about yourself. 24 hours. Most people can't make it to lunch. The ones who do tell me the same thing afterward. People started treating them differently by evening. Warmer, more attentive, more respect in the room, and nobody could explain why. But I have to be honest with you. Everything in this chapter only gets you to neutral. These fixes stop you from shrinking, they don't stop you from repelling. Because there's a second category of killer phrases, and it's darker. These are the ones that don't make you look small. They make the other person feel small. There's one phrase in this category that sounds respectful, even professional. You've probably said it this week thinking you were being a good listener, and the person on the receiving end heard it as a door slamming in their face. It has quietly ended more friendships, more deals, and more relationships than any insult ever could. That phrase, and the 3 others in its family, is where we go next. The phrase is, "I hear you." 3 words. Sounds respectful. Sounds mature. Sounds like something an evolved, emotionally intelligent adult would say. And the person you said it to walked away feeling like you'd hung up on them mid-sentence. Here's why. And here's the whole dark family of phrases that don't shrink you, they shrink everyone around you. Which, it turns out, is the faster way to lose a room. "I hear you" wasn't born evil. It escaped from a laboratory. The psychologist Carl Rogers, who together with Richard Farson coined the term active listening back in the 1950s, taught therapists to reflect a client's words back to them as proof of full attention. In a therapy room, backed by an hour of actual listening, it works. But somewhere along the way, the phrase leaked into offices and kitchens and got stripped of everything that made it real. Now watch what it does in the wild. Your partner spends 2 minutes explaining why they're upset, and you say, "I hear you." What did you actually communicate? Not understanding. You demonstrated 0 understanding. You communicated receipt. Like a delivery notification. Package acknowledged, conversation closed. The listener's brain registers it exactly the way it registers noted or, "Okay, anything else?" as a period placed at the end of their feelings by someone else's hand. And the cruelest detail? The more upset the person is, the more dismissive it sounds. The repair costs you 1 sentence of actual content. Instead of stamping the receipt, prove the delivery. So the part that really got you was that he announced it without asking you first. Did I get that right? Marshall Rosenberg built his entire method of nonviolent communication around this move. reflecting back the specific feeling and the specific need before you respond with anything of your own. Notice you don't even have to agree. You just have to show your work. I hear you claims you listened. Naming what you heard proves it. People don't fall for claims. They fall for proof. The second member of this family is nastier because it wears a party hat. Someone tells you their good news. They got the job, they ran the marathon, they finally bought the apartment, and you say, "Wow, lucky you." Or, "Must be nice." Or the assassin's version. "Well, it helps that you knew the right people." You may have meant almost nothing by it. Doesn't matter. In their head, a translation just occurred that you can never take back. This person is not happy for me, and the research here should genuinely scare you. The psychologist Shelley Gable and her colleagues published a series of studies in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology on what happens in relationships when one person shares good news. The finding turned conventional wisdom upside down. How you respond to someone's victories predicts the health of the relationship better than how you respond to their problems. Being there for the bad times is not the test. The test is the good times. Gable found that only one style of response builds the bond: engaged, curious enthusiasm. That's incredible. Tell me everything. How did the final interview go? Every other style, the flat nice, the distracted subject change, and especially the "you got lucky" deflation, quietly corrodes the relationship, one celebration at a time. When you call someone's achievement luck, you're not describing their success. You're describing your envy. And they can read the label. Third, criticism delivered raw. "This is wrong. Redo it." That's not how you do it. "You always do this." Some people wear this bluntness like a badge. I just tell it like it is. Here's what 4 decades of data say about telling it like it is. The psychologist John Gottman spent his career filming couples in conflict and became famous for predicting, with unsettling accuracy, which marriages would collapse. And criticism aimed at the person rather than the problem was one of his 4 horsemen of relationship apocalypse. His teams also found that stable, thriving relationships ran on a strikingly lopsided fuel mixture. Roughly 5 positive interactions for every negative one. Not because people are fragile flowers, because negative signals simply weigh more. 1, "you screwed this up," outweighs 1, "great job," the way a rock outweighs a feather. So you need a stack of feathers on the scale before the relationship stays level. The fix is not the fake compliment sandwich everyone can smell from across the room. It's 2 honest moves. Name something that actually works. Specifically, not "it's fine," but the opening section is genuinely strong. The example about the client landed. And then frame the problem as a gap, not a verdict. "What I'm missing is X. What if we tried it this way?" "You failed" makes a person defend themselves. "Here's what's missing" makes them reach for a pen. One closes the door, the other opens a document. Only someone secure in their own strength can afford to point out strength in others, which is why doing it reads instantly as charisma. And the last member of the family doesn't even need words. It's a frequency you broadcast on. The chronic complaint. "Well, it's easy for you." "Of course, everything works out for some people." Ugh, don't even ask. No single phrase here is fatal. It's the drip. And the drip spreads because moods are contagious in a disturbingly literal way. The organizational psychologist Sigal Barsaid ran an experiment, published in Administrative Science Quarterly, where a trained actor was planted in small work groups to radiate either upbeat or negative energy, and the actor's mood measurably infected the entire group's mood, and even its performance, while the group members remained blissfully unaware of where the feeling had come from. Nobody in that room knew they'd caught something. That is what a habitual complainer does to every dinner table they sit at, and it's why, over time, people start managing their exposure to them. Shorter calls, vaguer plans, that particular brand of friendly distance nobody announces. Psychologist Amanda Rose's work on co-rumination adds the twist. Endlessly rehashing problems together feels like closeness, even bonds people short-term, while measurably feeding anxiety and low mood in both parties. It's intimacy that invoices you later. So audit your openers. If your first 3 sentences in every conversation are grievances, you're not sharing your life. You're distributing a burden. And if it's the people around you broadcasting on that frequency, all day, every day, and you're starting to apologize for being okay, pay attention to that, because their signal doesn't stay theirs. It becomes the weather you live in. Now pull the camera back, because the 2 chapters you've just heard are secretly one idea. Every killer phrase, the reflexive sorry, the shrinking just, the me monologue, the receipt stamp I hear you, the deflating lucky you, the raw verdict, the endless complaint. Every single one is a moment where you stopped being in the conversation and started performing in it. Managing your image, defending your ego, winning an invisible point. And every single fix, gratitude, the follow-up question, proving what you heard, celebrating the win, naming the strength before the gap, is the same move wearing different clothes. Full attention, aimed at the other person, right now. Olivia Fox-Cabane opens the charisma myth with the case study everyone cites for a reason. The woman who dined with Gladstone and Disraeli in the same week and said that after Gladstone, she thought he was the cleverest person in England. After Disraeli, she thought she was the cleverest person in England. Guess which man history remembers as the charmer? That's the entire secret, and it costs nothing. Charisma was never about being fascinating. It's about being fascinated, visibly. Specifically, right where you're standing. Speak so no one in the room gets smaller, including you, and people will start calling you magnetic. They'll never quite be able to explain why, but you'll know.